The chairman of the Conservatives is implying that Reform are Nazis after they unveiled a new black football shirt with a gold badge.
Dr. David Bull, chairman of the Reform Party, gives us his reaction. He says the Tories are slandering their own voters. Plus, what is his reaction to reports that Nigel Farage was a schoolyard racist?
At no point did he actually think this is a really bad idea. I'm insulting our former voters who have come over to Reform UK. But what I find even more shocking is the Conservative Party seem to be standing by him. Now, what does that show about their sense of judgment? Because it is woefully wrong. I think actually, I'm a great believer in not playing the ball, in not playing the man, but you play the ball. But in this case, I actually think his comments are so disrespectful, so distasteful that he should actually resign.
Dr. David Bull, thank you for joining us. I know you're going to a rally tonight. Is it in Nuremberg?
How dare you? How dare you? Look, there's a really serious story behind this. No, I'm in Wales, actually, where we're polling really well, actually. Look, this all started yesterday with Kevin Hollinrake. I messaged to say, I actually put on X that we had won 2 more councillors. He replied saying how well the Conservative Party was going. He obviously has said what I think is the most disgraceful and appalling comments, likening our hundreds of thousands of members to Nazis. And I mean, I think you have to take a step back. First of all, I thought whether he'd really understood what he was saying, but actually just in terms of the framing of this, when he is talking, and I mentioned I'm in Wales, when you're talking to people here who are sick and tired of the open border policy to immigration, when people say they want their country back, when people say things have to change, and that is the response from the Tory party, then you know how desperate the whole thing has become. I suggest actually he should concentrate on resuscitating the dead corpse, which is the Conservative Party.
What are we to make of the fact that he tweets it, then he deletes it, then he puts it back up? I mean, he may be of the theory, if in doubt, just double down. Sometimes you have to do that on X. You have to stick to your guns. But there was clearly a slight crisis of conscience in the middle of it all. I just wonder what the thinking was, because, of course, the trouble with the Tories using this attack line, which we would more closely associate with the left, let's be honest, who are quite happy to bandy around terms like Nazi, far right, whatever, is that he's actually using that term to describe his own voters who are undecided about whether they're Tories or Reformers, like many Telegraph readers, by the way.
And that is absolutely the case. That is the point. And so you're absolutely right. So he tweeted the picture, then he took it down, obviously had buyer's remorse, but then he put it back up with a link to it. So as you say, he doubled down on the whole thing. But actually, at no point did he actually think this is a really bad idea. I'm insulting our former voters who have come over to Reform UK. But what I find even more shocking is the Conservative Party seem to be standing by him. Now, what does that show about their sense of judgment? Because it is woefully wrong. I think actually, I'm a great believer in not playing the ball, in not playing the man, but you play the ball. But in this case, I actually think his comments are so disrespectful, so distasteful that he should actually resign.
There are, of course, a lot of Tories and Tory MPs who do think you're Nazis. They do think that. I'm not saying he necessarily does, but there are some who do think you are a far-right danger.
And why do they think that? What exactly would they, what's their evidence for that?
Well, because your badge looks a bit like someone else's badge. But aside from that, my point is that it's possible it was a poor taste joke, but I can tell you from speaking to some Tories, they really do think you are the Fourth Reich, and they are very worried about you.
Well, they're very worried because they're going to lose. They're going to have 14 members of parliament, given the latest polling. If you look at actually the polls now, we're at 33%. What's that, 373 seats or thereabouts? No wonder the Conservative Party is panicking. But I go back to the original point I made, which is I believe that if you're going to fight a campaign in the election, it needs to be a positive campaign. Set out to the electorate what you as Conservatives will do to change this country for the better. Now, this open border policy on migration, by the way, let's not forget, goes back to the Conservative Party, the 3.8 million people who came here legally under Boris Johnson, those people who are going to get indefinite leave to remain, that was under the Conservative Party. So they need to take a long, cold, hard look in the mirror as to what they actually did to this country. And that is why people who formerly voted Conservative are coming across to us.
Do you think that Nigel Farage has done his own self-reflecting in recent days, David, after the Guardian's expose of his childhood flirtations, can I put it like that, with anti-Semitism? We've done and we've covered with Michael Crick, the original journalist that broke the story that he may have sang Nazi songs in the streets of Dulwich. And we debunked that. And we did say to Crick, is he a racist? And Crick said no. So I just want to clarify that. But it would be remiss not to ask you what the Reform UK's leader's reaction is to a huge expose with people who were at school with him, accusing him of some pretty unsavoury views, talking about the gassing of Jews, making jokes about the Holocaust.
I think for all of us in Reform UK, we can see the amount of scrutiny we're now under and how much stuff is being thrown at us. And that is because we're doing so well in the polls. And I think as a party, look, I've been involved since 2019, we have had to grow, mature and develop. And I think sometimes we need to now think very carefully about how we position ourselves in a statesman-like manner. I have no idea what went on when Nigel was younger, and hopefully none of that is true, as you've debunked it yourselves. But the point is that actually we are going from a party which was a protest party in many ways to a party of government. And I think we have to also choose the battles that we fight, and the way that we actually phrase some of the stuff that we talk about now has to be incredibly careful as we go forward as well.
I mean, is it right to accuse somebody of something now that they may have been guilty of at school?
He's definitely not a racist. I know Nigel very well, and obviously we have lots of people in this party, all different faiths and walks of life, and colours and races and all the rest of it. So he's definitely not a racist. I don't know what he did at school. I don't know. In the playground, lots of kids say all sorts of terrible things that they regret later in life.
Well, shouldn't it just be something we don't touch upon, just because it's childhood? Well, I'm not sure there is much to be gleaned from what children say.
I would agree.
What was your reaction to Nathan Gill getting 10 years, by the way, for taking bribes from Russia? Because I know you knew him.
I did.
And I mean, there's the Welsh connection, because you're there today, David, just to ask about that, please.
I'm really sad, actually. Nathan, I met him when we were in the European Parliament. He was leading the group in the European Parliament. He'd been there. I think it's desperately sad that he sunk that low. And in fact, my response was to his sentencing that I didn't think it was long enough, actually. If you take money and you betray this country, in my view, you're a traitor to the country. But I think there are some questions to be asked of other politicians who seem to have found themselves in very hot water and having dalliances with foreign powers.
We have a budget on Wednesday. We've just been discussing tax rises. Will you make the same commitment that Labour made fatefully in 2024, that there'll be no major tax rises to personal taxes?
Well, I think I think you have to look at the economic situation. I think it was a very rash promise of theirs, as you know, not to increase income tax, VAT, or national insurance. And of course, they then increased employer national insurance from 13.8% up to 15%. They think that will bring in more money. As we know, the employers now can't afford to employ anyone. So we have put forward an alternative budget to Rachel Reeves. Remember, she has caused this £25 billion black hole, and it is up to her to get out of it. Now, we have put forward proposals which include increasing the immigration health surcharge, for example. It's capping foreign aid, making sure money goes back into this country. For example, it's removing all foreign criminals out of this country. So we've put forward proposals going forward. I think also, just in terms of if and when we get into government, there are going to be some very hard decisions to be made in terms of the finances of this country. But actually, what we want to see is lower tax, because if you empower people to employ people to grow their businesses, then the economy grows. What we're doing at the moment is stifling anyone who is an entrepreneur. Literally, when you look at the number of people leaving this country, 11,000 non-doms have already left the country. Something like 250,000 people have left the United Kingdom already since Labour came to power. And do you blame them? Because actually, I think most people are thinking about whether a life in another country is better than staying in this country. Look, what we have to do is empower those people who create wealth. I founded a company. I employed 50 staff. It is not easy. When you have a salary bill of £1 million every single year, you need to feel the state is on your side to employ more people, to ensure that actually the 1 million kids who are not in employment, education or training between 18 and 25 have a place, have a home, have a way of earning money. So those are the things that we would look at. I think making promises which are rash before you get into an election are going to be difficult to keep, given the mess that we're currently in.
David Bull, before you go quickly, how are your badges doing then? You're sticking with them. Have they been flying off the shelves?
Do you know, I haven't been involved with football kit. It's not my look.
No, indeed. But still.
No, but you're wearing a sweatshirt with no bull on it. For those who are listening to this, they need to know. So you do have a look, and it's very personal.
I do.
It's very nice.
All right.
Well, I wasn't expecting to see you two today, so.
Well, no, you're looking good. We look forward to receiving our shirts in due course. Maybe as a little early Christmas present, David Bill. Good luck in Wales
I'll make
later.
a note.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Bye now. Because I was just stumbling there because I was going to say, can you send us a couple of black shirts? So there is an issue with this because they have produced a black shirt.
Right.
I'm not for 1 minute suggesting it's racist or they're Nazis.
Does it come in brown? I don't know. I think we're all getting a bit. I think we're all being a bit silly about this, looking for these little hints of fascism or Nazism. But equally, I think if Hollinrake tells a joke, even if it's a bad one, I think one should be old enough and bold enough just to walk away and say
I know.
Whatever.
We're too quick to say he should be cancelled.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a cancellation. It was just a joke that landed rather flat.
If you're enjoying our journalism, why not sign up to From the Editor, our free email newsletter? Start your day with the latest news and opinion, plus our bite-sized puzzles. Scan the QR code to sign up free today.